Can you pass Duolingo's placement test? Let's find out. So if you want to take Duolingo's placement test, you just go to duolingo.com. You're going to click Get Started, and then you're just going to go through all the steps. So we want to learn Spanish, and I'll skip this part, and we'll go right into the test. Real quick, for this section, I'm going to put that I can discuss most topics in detail. All right, so we're going to click where it says Find My Level, and also make sure to stick around to the end because not only are we going to take this placement test, but we're also going to take an even harder Duolingo test. So stick around to the end of the video to check it out. All right, let's jump in. All right, so we're going to start with section 4. At the end of this video, we're going to try section 8 test.
Tenemos que acordarnos de comprar leche. ¿Me oyes?
Okay, so in Spanish, we can use the verb acordar, meaning to remember. We also have the verb recordar, but we also have acordar. It's typically used as a reflexive. So here we're saying acordarnos, okay, so we have to remember. Okay, ¿me oyes? No te oigo, estoy buscando leche y no hay. Or si yo hablo español, ¿qué necesita? So here she's asking, do you hear me? And I say, no te oigo, I don't hear you. Estoy buscando leche y no hay. I'm looking for it and there is none. Remember that the andos in Spanish are what we call the present progressive. It's the equivalent of the ing verbs in English.
¿A qué hora te despiertas usualmente?
Okay, awesome. So what time do you typically wake up? What time do you usually wake up? So here, te despiertas is coming from the reflexive verb despertarse, meaning to wake up. Remember that in Spanish, a reflexive verb is something that you do to yourself or that someone or something does to themselves. So in the case of despertarse, if I was to just say despertar, it might sound like I'm doing the waking up to someone else. However, in this case, when I say te despiertas, it means you do that to yourself.
¿Qué hora es? En el reloj encima de la mesa son las 6, pero hay sol.
What time is it? On the clock, on top of the table, it says it's 6, but it's sunny. So, son las 10, nos despertamos tarde, o porque nos gusta mucho la fruta, which makes no sense. So we're going to say it's 10 o'clock, we woke up late. Once again, we're seeing the reflexive there. Nos despertamos, because we are doing that to ourselves. All right?
Ah, Duo es tan inteligente.
Okay. Ah, Duo es tan inteligente. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Ah, Duo es tan inteligente. Okay. All right, we're just going to say that we can't speak now. I don't know why it's not working. But one of the most important things you can do in order to improve your pronunciation in Spanish is to focus on the vowel sounds. So, A, E, I, O, U. So, ah, Duo es tan inteligente. I don't know why it's not working, so we're just going to skip for now.
Tengo que quedar con José pronto.
Tengo que quedar con José pronto. So I have to stay with José pronto. You can also make this a reflexive. So quedarse can be me tengo que quedar or tengo que quedarme con José pronto.
Me encanta soñar.
Okay, me encanta.
Soñar.
Yeah, I love to dream. Remember that the verb encantar behaves like the verb gustar. So I am not saying encanto soñar because I am not performing the action of to enchant or to love. In this case, it is happening to me. In this idea, soñar is doing the enchanting to me, which is why we use the indirect object pronoun me, and then we conjugate encanta in the third person singular, because when we have an infinitive verb like soñar, we'll conjugate it in that third person singular. All right, so I use my legs to play soccer. Uso mis piernas. Piernas para jugar fútbol. All right, awesome.
Yo oigo los pájaros.
Yo oigo los pájaros. Okay, so I hear the birds. Okay, pretty easy.
No cerré la puerta de la nevera.
Okay, so I did not close the fridge door. And here in Mexico, it's more common that we'll use a word like refrigerador or el refri. I guess you could say la nevera, but I think that's more common in Spain.
Me despierto tarde los domingos.
Okay, so I wake up late on Sundays. All right, once again, we're seeing the reflexive despertarse there. Tarde meaning late. Tarde can also mean the afternoon. So, nos vemos en la tarde. See you in the afternoon. All right, my grandpa has a long beard. Una barba is a beard. Also, careful with the word larga. Many students think that larga means large, but no. Grande means large or big. In this case, largo or larga means long.
No te oímos.
All right, no te oímos. All right, we don't hear you. All right. Oh, I forgot my accent there. Okay. No te oímos. All right. We don't hear you. Okay. No puedo usar mi brazo derecho. All right. So brazo is arm, and then un abrazo is a hug. All right. Okay, so we aced this test, but now let's take a look at an even harder Duolingo test. This is going to be the Section 8 test. I'm going to do it on my phone. All right, so now we're on my phone because I actually started using Duolingo in high school 11 years ago, and I would go through all the lessons. Now, currently it shows I'm on Section 7, but if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see that we can take the Section 8 test. So let's just skip everything and jump ahead. It's possible that there are even harder sections, but I'm only able to take Section 8 right now. So let's see if we can do this together. All right. Okay, dough is masa.
Masa.
Okay, I like that accent. Masa. Okay.
No me subestimen.
Okay, don't underestimate me. Subestimar is the infinitive for underestimate. Okay. Inedible. Incomible.
Incomible.
All right. These are good. This is actually really good vocab.
Y si usaras mis hierbas para marinar la carne.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, usaras is the imperfect subjunctive, and it's arguably the hardest tense to understand in the entire Spanish language. So, and if you were to use, or what if you used, my herbs to marinate the meat. Okay, y si usaras. So, personally, when I translate this sentence into my head, and I would translate this as, and if you were to use, or and if you used, both work, okay? All right, mushroom is hongo. We also have the word champiñón. However, hongo is quite popular. Nueras, les ayudo. Es imposible que yo blank algo tan desabrido, okay? So here we have coma. Once again, the subjunctive here being used because this person is saying it's impossible that. Because it's impossible, we're expressing doubt. Remember that the subjunctive mood is used for things of doubt. We could also talk about things like opinions and emotions, but the most common theme of the subjunctive is doubt. So it is impossible that I will eat something so tasteless. All right, Carla, con todo respeto, ese blank no es malo, so we're going to say vino. Vino tinto no es malo, pero yo prefiero el vino blanco. That makes the most sense here. So, con todo respeto, ese vino tinto no es malo, blah, blah, blah. Notice how we have ese instead of eso. Remember that the masculine of this in Spanish is ese. It is not eso. Eso is what we call the neuter. So, for example, if I were to say to you, ¿qué es eso? What is that? I don't know its gender, and therefore I'll use the neuter. Okay, so eso is neutral, ese is masculine, and esa is feminine. All right, mis suegros me están sacando de quicio blank. All right, no lo soporto. Okay, so me están sacando de quicio. Truthfully, I never hear this in Mexico. It's very possible this is a common phrase in Spain. And then soportar is meaning to stand or to withstand. So I can't stand them, okay? All right, he acts as if I were incapable of boiling squash. Very interesting. Okay, so actúa como si yo fuera incapaz de hervir un calabacín. Or here, I think we can just say calabacín. I personally would have said calabazas. You can say calabacín as well. Or in Mexico, we can also say calabacitas. All right. So once again, we're seeing the imperfect subjunctive there. Si yo fuera, as if I were incapable of. Te dije que era blank e igual preparaste una langosta. Okay. So here, in this idea is, okay, I told you I was vegetarian, but even then you prepared a lobster. What the heck, dude? Notice how we have e igual here instead of y, all right, like the y. The reason being is that you can't have the double y sound, all right? So you can't say y igual, you have to say e igual. Same thing with the word o, right? So instead of saying, you know, o otorrinolaryngologo, because I can't say that word, you could say u otorrino, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can't have those double sounds. It's the exact reason why in the word águila, we wouldn't say la águila, because you can't have that long ah sound. So you can't say l'águila, you have to say el águila, okay? Oh, my son-in-law cooked, okay? Ay, mi yerno cocinó. Remember that the preterite is for one-type actions in the past, whereas the imperfect is for ongoing actions in the past. So, mi yerno cocinó, that's a one-time action in the past, whereas cocinaba would mean was cooking or used to cook. It can also take on the translation of would cook. However, be careful with that translation because many students will mix up that translation with the conditional tense. So, he would cook all the time is different from he would cook, but he doesn't have money to buy stuff. So that's the conditional, whereas this is the imperfect.
Yo no me meto cuando ella cocina.
Okay, yo no me meto cuando ella cocina. All right, so I don't meddle when she cooks, or I don't get involved. The verb there being meter or meterse. Also, a quick pro hack that you can use. If you have an iPhone, I'm not sure how it is on Android, you can have a double keyboard. So on my phone, I have a keyboard that is both English and Spanish, so I don't have to keep toggling between the two. I can just use one. It's really nice because I text people in Spanish and English all the time. All right, if there's octopus, I won't eat. Si hay pulpo, no comeré. All right. Okay, so here I put no comeré. They're also saying you could also put no como. Remember that the regular present indicative tense can be used for things in the near future as well as things that are happening now. So yo como, I eat. However, if I'm talking about something in the near future, it could also be translated as I will eat. All right, what if you marinated it for a week? All right, so I would say, ¿qué tal si lo marinaras por una semana? All right, that looks pretty good to me. I need to put the accent here. ¿Qué tal si lo marinaras por una semana? All right. Oh, and here we have y si lo marinaras por una semana. Also works ¿qué tal or y si. These are pretty tricky. As you can see, the imperfect subjunctive is pretty tough. And in fact, this is the last thing that I learned when I was learning Spanish. So if you are struggling with this or don't understand it, no worries because it's pretty tricky. Okay, so I would add pepper to the meat because it's bland. Okay, so I would add pepper to the meat. I would say yo le pondría pimienta a la carne porque está desabrida. This is how I would say it. I'm curious if Duolingo is going to mark me wrong. I'm a little bit scared. It's always at the end of these tests that I get scared. All right, let's see. Okay, so here it says yo le agregaría, which I suppose could work as well. Pimienta a la carne porque está desabrida. All right, nice. As you can tell, that was really tricky. Also, notice how we put le there, okay? Because le is representing la carne, okay? All right, lesson complete. Woohoo! How'd you do? Leave a comment on this video letting me know. And like I said, click the link in the video description if you want to check out our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Our goal is to help you have a 10-minute conversation in 90 days without feeling nervous. Check it out by clicking the link in the video description. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.